Okay, so topic 17, this is ship detention. Okay, learning outcome. Interpret different non-conformities and legal sanctions as inspected by the Port State Control Office resulting to ship detention. Okay, a ship is detained when it is unfit to proceed to sea or the deficiencies pose an unreasonable risk to the ship, its crew, or the environment. No? So kung risk to the ship, that is under SOLAS, and risk to the crew, that is under STCW and MLC. And for the environment, that is under MARPOL. Di ba? Okay, what is Port State PSC? No? PSC is the Port State Control. Um, Port State Control is the inspection of foreign ships present in a nation's port for the purpose of verifying that the condition of the ships and their equipment comply with the provisions of international conventions and codes, and that the ships are manned and operated in compliance with those provisions. So kailangan nasunod ka sa international regulations from the IMO, ILO, and even the United Nations kung meron. Ano? Meron kasi yung UNCLOS. Okay, so for the port state control, they have their own book, no? This is the procedures for port state control, which is the 2020 edition. I do not know if the latest is 2020 edition. Ano? What is the PSCO? Okay, so PSCO, Port State Control Officer, carries out port state control. The PSCO is a properly qualified person authorized to carry our port state control inspections in accordance with the MOU, yung Memorandum of Agreement, by the Maritime Authority of the Port State and acts under its responsibility. The Port State Control, they are using code for deficiencies. No? For example, ito, palakihin natin. Pwede. Yun. Okay, so here, PSC Deficiency Action Codes. So kung Code 17, to be rectified before departure, di ka makaalis kung di mo ma-rectify, no? And then, Code 30, rectify detainable deficiency at next port. So next port ka pa madedetain. Code 30, detainable deficiency. So detain ka dyan. Code 30 din pala yung isa. No? Nagkamali kaya yata dito ah. Okay, so Code 15, to be rectified before departure from next port. And Code 16, to be rectified within 14 days. And Code 18, to be rectified within 3 months. So gano'n, meron silang coding for the deficiencies. Isusulat nila yan dun sa kanilang port state control report. No? Okay, if the deficiencies are found, the port state control officer must decide on the appropriate action to be taken, be satisfied that they will be rectified. Decide if it is a good ground, if it is a ground for detention. Okay, general criteria as laid down by the Port State Control Memorandum of Understanding. So, Memorandum of Understanding to carry out inspections. Okay, ito yung kanilang general criteria. Ships visiting a port of a state for the first time or after an absence of 12 months or more. So, if it is your first time to go to that port, expect mo na they will visit your vessel for port state control inspection. And katulad sa US, no? I believe I remember sa US is if you are not there for the past 6 months, they will board also your vessel, no? Hindi 12, not 12 months. Okay, ships which have been permitted to leave the port of a state with deficiencies to be rectified. Ships which have been reported by pilots or port authorities as being deficient. And then ships whose certificates are not in order. And then ships carrying dangerous or polluting goods which have failed to report relevant information. No? May dala kang dangerous goods pero hindi ka nag-report ng tama. Okay, number 6, ships which have been suspended from class in the preceding 6 months. And then 7, ships which have been subject of a report or notification by another authority. And then ships which have been involved in a collision, grounding, or stranding on their way to port. And then ships accused of alleged violation of the provisions of IMO. Okay, ships accused of an alleged violation of the provisions of IMO as to pose a threat to persons, property, or environment. And number 10, ships are permitted to leave the port of a member state on conditions such as deficiencies are to be rectified before departure or at the next port or within 14 days. So, depende yung code na nilagay, no? Okay, so what are the detention of ships under Port State Control Code? So, actually, hindi na detain to, no? Oh. The ship has relevant valid documentation. So, hindi ka ma-detain dito. So, mali yung title, no? Detention of ships under PSC code, no? So, the ship has the crew required in the minimum safe manning document or equivalent navigate safely throughout the forthcoming voyage. So, meron tayong tinatawag na manning minimum safe manning document dun sa barko, no? Like for example, in my experience, the chief mate disembarked, no? As the helm of the ITF and then disembarked in Togo, no? In Africa. And then, of course, there is no chief mate so we cannot leave because of the minimum safe manning document. Kasi ang minimum safe manning document, it contains the minimum position or rank and number of persons on board, number of AB, number of oiler. So nakalagay doon, nandun doon sa minimum safe manning document. So what happens is the company requested from the administration, yung flag state, no? For a temporary minimum safe manning document na pwedeng wala yung chief mate, ano? That it will include the chief mate for 2 months until na makahanap sila ng kapalit, no? So nakahanap sila ng so ang nangyari kami ni second mate ang nagbantay para doon sa gwardiya ni chief mate, hati kami. Pero okay lang, binayaran kami doon, no? Kaya lang, yung problema lang, mas malaki ang rate ni second mate, mas malaki sweldo niya dagdag niya kaysa sa akin. Ako ang nagtrabaho ng trabaho ni chief mate. For example, yung draft reading. Ako ang pinagbasa ng kapitan ng draft kasi ako ang lisensyado ng chief mate. Okay, so safely handle, carry, and monitor the condition of the cargo throughout the forthcoming voyage. And then operate the engine room safely throughout the forthcoming voyage. Pag hindi mo nagawa yan, hindi mo pwedeng gawin, then that is a detention, no, of your vessel. Okay, maintain proper propulsion and steering throughout the forthcoming voyage. That's why they will inspect your steering gear. steering gear room. And then fight fires effectively in any part of the ship if necessary during the forthcoming voyage. Kaya yung port state control, laging nagpapa-fire drill, no? Hindi naman lahat, pero mostly, no? Mapunta ka na US, may fire drill. Mapunta ka ng Panama, may fire drill. So, in other countries also, no? Magkakaroon ng fire drill. Okay, abandon ship speedily and safely. So, mayroon ding abandon ship drill lagi. Kaya yung dalawang yan magkasama palagi, no? Okay, abandon ship, no? That's why there is also abandon ship drill. Dalawa yan, lalo pag sa US. Laging meron yan, abandon ship drill and firefighting drill. Prevent pollution of the environment throughout the forthcoming voyage. So, they will inspect also your SOPEP room. Okay, maintain adequate stability throughout the forthcoming voyage. This is for the chief mate. Maintain adequate watertight integrity throughout the forthcoming voyage. They will inspect your watertight doors, including your, if you are not loaded, pati yung hatch cover mo. Sisilipin nila yan, no? Communicate in distress situation if necessary during the forthcoming voyage. So, subukan nila yung officers kung marunong ng sa GMDSS. And then, provide safe and healthy conditions on board throughout the forthcoming voyage. So, dapat kompleto yung gamot, kompleto yung pagkain. Provide the maximum of information in case of an accident as provided by the voyage data recorder. So, now we now have the voyage data recorder. You cannot lie. The master cannot lie anymore. No? Sakali, nagkamali yung timonel, nagkamali yung utos, tapos sisisi sa timonel, sabi nagkamali. No? Hindi na pwede because it is recorded by the voyage data recorder. So na hindi na obra yung hugas kamay, no? Okay, detainable deficiencies. To assist the port state control officer in the use of the procedures follows a list of deficiencies grouped under relevant conventions and or codes which are considered of such a serious nature that they may warrant the detention of the ship involved. This list is not considered exhaustive but is intended to give an exemplification of relevant items. So, areas under SOLAS, under IBC code, under the International Gas Carrier Code, load lines, MARPOL, and then the International Labor Organization and the MLC, and then the STCW, and then we have also the Anti-Fouling System Convention. No? Okay, so areas under SOLAS, failure of proper operation of propulsion and other essential machinery as well as electrical installations. And then insufficient cleanliness of engine room, an excess amount of oily water mixture in bilges, insulation of piping, including exhaust pipe in engine room contaminated by oil. Improper operation of the bilge pumping arrangement. Masyadong stricto pag talagang magkakaroon ng inspection, no? Okay, so failure of the proper operation of emergency generator, lighting, batteries, and switches. Okay, failure of the proper operation of the main and auxiliary steering gear. Absence, insufficient capacity, or serious deterioration of personal life-saving appliances, survival craft, and launching arrangement. Okay, areas under SOLAS. Pa rin? Okay, absence, non-compliance, or substantial deterioration to the extent that it cannot comply with its intended use of fire detection system, fire alarms, firefighting equipment, fixed firefighting installation, ventilation valves, fire dampers, and quick closing devices. So they will inspect all of that, your firefighting equipment, and especially the fire extinguishing installation, which is now is commonly carbon dioxide, no, CO2. So there is a CO2 room there in our vessel. And the fixed firefighting extinguishing installation is for the engine room and your cargo hold. Okay, absence, substantial deterioration or failure of proper operation of the cargo deck area, fire protection on tankers. So tankers naman yun, Absence, non-compliance or serious deterioration of lights, shapes, or sound signals. And then absence or failure of the proper operation of the radio equipment for distress and safety communication. And then number 10, absence or failure of the proper operation of navigation equipment, taking the provisions of SOLAS into account. And then the absence of corrected navigational charts and or all other relevant nautical publications necessary for the intended voyage, taking into account that type approved electronic chart display and information system ECDIS operating on official data may be used as a substitute for the charts. So, dati yung paper chart pa ang chine-check. Pero kung ngayon na meron ng ECDIS, so depende kung your ECDIS is properly equipped for that purpose, no? The absence of non-sparking exhaust ventilation for cargo pump rooms. So, dun sa tanker naman yun, cargo pump rooms. Serious deficiencies in the operational requirements. Okay, so on areas under load lines, significant areas of damage or corrosion, or pitting of plating and associated stiffening in decks and hull affecting seaworthiness or strength to take local loads, unless proper temporary repairs for a voyage to a port for permanent repairs have been carried out. A recognized case of insufficient stability. And then absence of sufficient and reliable information in an approved form which by rapid and simple means enables the master to arrange for the loading and ballasting of his ship in such a way that a safe margin of stability is maintained at all stages and at varying conditions of the voyage, and that the creation of any unacceptable stress or stresses in the ship's structure are avoided. And then absence, substantial deterioration or defective closing devices, hatch closing arrangement, and watertight doors. So, pag deteriorated na yung inyong mga yung rubber seal packing of your hatch cover and so also your watertight doors, syempre that is also detainable under the by the port state control. And then overloading. So yan, that is one also, no? Okay, the absence of or impossibility to read the draft mark. So dapat yung draft mark ay inyong pinipinturahan din pag may time. Okay, so under areas under Annex 4 to Marpol, the absence of a sewage treatment system not functioning, sewage comminuting and disinfecting system, absence of a sewage discharge connection. And then under areas under Annex 5 of the Marpol, the absence of the garbage management plan, no garbage record book available. Talagang nade-detain yung barko nito, no? This is the chief mate's job, no? Okay, the ship's personnel not familiar with disposal discharge requirements of garbage management plan. Ibig sabihin, you are not following the color coding of and separation of garbage. Okay, so areas under Annex 6 of the MARPOL, as per guidelines for port state control inspections, for compliance with Annex 6 of the MARPOL regulations for the prevention of air pollutions from ships. Okay, so under TCW, failure of navigational and engineering watch arrangement to conform to the requirements specified for the ship by the flag state administration. So nakapaskil ito, no? We have posted in a conspicuous place on board, including the bridge. We have the watch arrangement. And then the absence in a watch of a person qualified to operate equipment essential to safe navigation, safety radio communications, or the prevention of marine pollution. Okay, number 3 is inability to provide for the first watch at the commencement of a voyage and for subsequent relieving watches, persons who are sufficiently rested and otherwise fit for duty. So, binabiolate nila. They are violating the hours of rest which is stipulated under the the MLC, which is the Maritime Labor Convention. Okay, under ILO, insufficient food for the voyage, insufficient potable water for the voyage to next port, excessively unsanitary conditions on board, no heating in accommodation of a ship operating in areas where temperatures may be excessively low. Walang heater, no? Excessive garbage, blockage by equipment or cargo, or otherwise unsafe conditions in passageways or accommodation. And then per guideline for the Port State Control Officer on the inspection of hours of work and or rest and fitness for duty and guidance for inspection on working and living conditions. So under MLC, as per guidance for inspection on Maritime Labor Convention 2006 and guidelines for the Port State Control Officer on the inspection of hours of work and rest and fitness for duty. So stay safe and I will end this meeting. Thank you for listening.